given that you said you had such good collaborations with both the institutions, how did they feel about the final product? Because one of the things that I liked about it is it's not black and white, Up With People is good, it's bad, but it presents lots of different viewpoints. And for them, do they feel they're separate from that now because they moved past it? Or do you know how they would react to the differing viewpoints in the film?
Wow. You're going to have to get on the Up With People network to answer that yourself. I had told everybody from the start, as an outsider, I was never a member of Up With People or Moral Re-Armament. I took no money from anyone within either organization, and I wanted to make sure that it was my personal journey. In fact, my husband said the same. He would not talk to me about it. He refused to interview. I did not do the interview of him. He had his arm twisted by my producer to do that. I didn't do it. But it was because he wanted me to experience it on my own and to learn on my own. This is my second screening. I was at Slam Dance and now Florida Film Festival and Full Frame tomorrow. And it is just now being, have an opportunity for Up With People alumni and others to review it and get their views. But I have to tell you, most people in Up With People never knew their history in Moral Re-Armament. They were not really given that information. It was kept from them in many ways. So it will be an awakening, I think, for a lot of them.
I found it really powerful towards the end with that gentleman crying, saying it's still relevant. Even despite all of the other things, it's still relevant. So I'm having a difficult time understanding why you chose to end it with, if you find someone wanting to change the world, run as fast as you can or run for the hills. They seem so far apart. So I'm trying to find a way to meld those two and wondered if you could clear that up, why you chose to end it in that fashion.
That's an excellent question, actually, and thank you very much for your comments. I wanted to end it on that issue of this idealized youth and the wisdom that we gain as we grow older, and looking back, even when we are cynical about things, that it is possible and that dream is possible. I think there's a reflection of that we see a lot going on around the world today. People are thinking of that, and I wanted to give value to that. I was struck by how many males that I interviewed that actually broke down like John Sayer and cried in their interviews. And not so much the women, but the men. And it's because of this intense experience and going back and evaluating their life, and maybe they didn't change the world, but they changed something. They made a positive impact. The end clip that's at the end of the credits that everyone says most people won't stay around for the end of the credits is more of a cautionary comment about any one individual, any one leader, anyone who's one that might say they're there to change the world. So it's not in a reflection of Up With People generally and the good that it is doing, particularly now. They opened up again in 2005. And supported by alumni, and they have a strong focus on community service, which I think is great. So, thank you for your comments.
One of the things that concerns me, though, is you spent a lot of time on the front end of Up With People's history, and that's fine. But it appeared to me, anyway, that you were somewhat dismissing how Up With People changed. By the 70s, for example, mid-70s, we were certainly aware of where Up With People came from through the moral re-armament process and so on and so forth. But it's also correct that it basically was a non-event at that point. Very, very few of the cast members at that point had any interest in moral re-armament at all. What they were interested in was the cultural exchange.
But I would just challenge you to also ask, how did Up With People end up in these places to meet kings and to meet popes? Because, in the 1960s, there were a lot of student movements. And you're not going to have a group of kids traveling around the world. At least this was a question that was raised in my mind, and I wanted to know. I couldn't imagine it coming from a small town outside of Detroit, Michigan, that had no relationship to anything in the world, and I know I can't call up Hiya King, can I come and see me? You know, and it's just kind of an interesting thing to ask. The students who went through Up With People had a great experience. It was a cultural, educational opportunity. It changed when the tuition started and when Up With People was no longer a mission and it became more mainstream in a one-year program. It's now 6 months, I believe, and tuition is $14,250 for 6 months. But the cultural exchange value is still there. But I wanted, at least based on the material and the archival material that I saw in Up With People and the historical research, I saw Up With People change from a mission to becoming mainstream, and then in America, a pop culture joke. Now, when you end up being part of a comedy routine with David Letterman or something, that's great. I mean, you've made it. The fact that you can even become that says a lot about Up With People. The fact that you were able to perform at 4 Super Bowls, and only Disney production has had that many Super Bowl performances. The history is nothing to be ashamed of, in my view. It was a dynamic time, and it will continue to be a dynamic time, and I hope Up With People has a role in it in the future.